Most people assume a man stops chasing women because he is tired, defeated, or bitter. But the truth is far more interesting and far more unsettling. A man stops chasing when he finally understands that desire without direction destroys him, and that the more he pursues someone who has not chosen him, the further he drifts from the life he is meant to build. This shift rarely happens loudly. It is almost never dramatic. It happens quietly, in the background of his life, after enough disappointments have sharpened his awareness and enough emotional lessons have taught him that a woman's attention is not a prize to be hunted, but a reflection of mutual interest that should never require begging, performing, or emotional self-abandonment. These men who no longer chase, move with a level of emotional stability that comes only from introspection. They recognize that chasing a woman places him in a position where he begins negotiating his identity in exchange for temporary affection. Once he sees that pattern clearly, he learns to detach with a calm that others misinterpret as coldness, though it is really nothing more than self-preservation built from experience. He stops measuring his worth through her reactions. He sees through the illusion that intensity equals love. And he begins to understand that respect comes not from pursuit but from posture, how he carries himself, what he tolerates, and what he refuses to entertain. One of the psychological traits these men share is an unusually strong internal locus of control. Instead of believing that his emotional fulfillment depends on a woman's approval or attention, he begins to develop an identity rooted in competence, direction, and personal responsibility. He understands that everything he wants, confidence, stability, financial strength, emotional peace, emerges from within, not from whether a certain woman responds to his message or chooses him over someone else. This internal shift frees him from the need to chase because it replaces desperation with self-trust. He no longer feels the urge to convince a woman to want him. He simply presents himself fully and observes who reciprocates without pressure. Unlike many men who lose themselves in the excitement of attraction, men who don't chase remain anchored. When a woman pulls away, they don't panic or descend into emotional negotiation. They don't attempt to fix the connection or force closeness. They simply match the energy in front of them, not out of pettiness, but out of wisdom. They've learned that when someone's interest fades, there is no amount of persuasion strong enough to rebuild it, and when someone's heart is open, no amount of silence can hide it. Instead of chasing the maybe in someone's behavior, they choose to invest in the certainty within themselves. Another defining trait of these men is their commitment to purpose. A man who has something meaningful to build, whether it is a career, a discipline, a business, or a sense of inner strength, does not have the emotional bandwidth to chase anyone. He directs his time toward mastery, improvement, and legacy. As his purpose grows, so does his emotional discipline. He stops reacting impulsively, stops interpreting every delay as rejection, and stops assigning spiritual significance to every moment of chemistry. The more a man invests in his mission, the more he recognizes that genuine companionship should complement his life, not consume it. Most women can sense this almost immediately. There is a distinctive calmness in a man who doesn't chase. He does not rush to impress, nor does he collapse into silence to avoid rejection. He has a balanced, steady presence that communicates, without him saying a word, that he is open to connection but not dependent on it. Women feel the difference between a man who needs affection to feel secure and a man who is already secure and simply welcomes affection when it is offered sincerely. This subtle psychological contrast creates its own gravity. He becomes intriguing precisely because he is not trying to be. Men who don't chase have also outgrown the fantasy that choosing a woman automatically earns him loyalty. They understand that desire can be deceptive, especially in the early stages of chemistry, and that many connections flourish quickly but die even quicker. Their emotional maturity allows them to enjoy attraction without becoming intoxicated by it. They listen carefully, watch attentively, and never lose themselves in the process of getting to know someone. They are present, but never over-invested, curious, but never consumed, interested, but never blinded. This emotional restraint does not mean they avoid intimacy. It means they make room only for the type of connection that is built on mutual investment rather than one-sided effort. They refuse to pursue situations where they are required to prove they are worthy of basic respect, consistent communication, or minimal effort. They reject the idea that they must compete, chase, or outshine other men to win someone's affection. A man who does not chase believes deeply that the right person for him will never require him to sacrifice his dignity or abandon his sense of self to keep her attention. Another psychological layer that defines these men is the clarity with which they see attention. Many men mistake attention for affection, or affection for compatibility, or compatibility for commitment. Men who don't chase understand the difference. They know that charm can be shallow, attraction can be temporary, and compatibility can be misleading if it is not paired with values, maturity, and genuine willingness. They pay attention to patterns rather than promises. They notice consistency more than excitement. And they allow the truth of someone's actions to reveal itself without interfering or attempting to accelerate the process. At the core of all of this is something deeper. These men have cultivated emotional self-respect. They know their time is valuable, their heart is not disposable, and their presence has weight. They are not afraid of being alone because solitude for them is not punishment. It is a state where they rebuild, recalibrate, and refine themselves into someone even better. And because they are not afraid of losing a woman, they never feel pressured to chase her. Their strength lies in understanding that love, when it is real, does not require sprinting towards someone who is walking away, nor does it require proving themselves to someone who is unsure. In the end, the psychology of men who don't chase is not about indifference. It is about alignment. These men have learned that the right woman will meet them halfway, match their effort, and bring peace rather than imbalance. They understand that connection is strongest when it grows naturally, not forcefully. And they know that a man becomes truly desirable, truly grounded, and truly powerful the moment he stops chasing approval and starts living with intention.